Development and Planning Organization for October the 25th, 2023. Roll call.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the record, this meeting was posted to our website and the Secretary of State's website, October 20th at 10 a.m. Roll call. Cameron County,
Present.
Hidalgo County,
Present.
City of Brownsville,
Present.
City of McAllen, City of Edinburgh, City of Mission, City of Arlington,
Here.
City of FAR,
Here.
Starr County, City of San Benito, Cameron County RMA,
Present.
Hidalgo County RMA, Valley Metro,
Present.
TxDOT.
Present.
We have quorum. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We have a public comment this afternoon. Mr. Brian, and I apologize, is it Beardley or Boardley? Come on, you can step to the dais. You'll have 3 minutes, sir. If, for the record, if you don't mind stating your name.
Yes, good morning, or good afternoon, I'm sorry. Brian Boardley.
Boardley.
It's a pleasure to meet everyone. Thank you for having me at your meeting. I am currently residing in McAllen. I've recently relocated here, been here about 15 weeks from Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm a consultant out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and one of the biggest opportunities that I see in this region is...
Wait, are you Wolverine?
Oh, absolutely, go blue.
Take as long as you want. As long as you want.
Yeah.
You got Notre Dame here, just so you know.
You have 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in my short time here, I see a huge opportunity in this area, and I've never known this area until I arrived, particularly from the standpoint of transit, and that's why I'm here for this meeting. When you look at the development in McAllen, such as Tres Lagos, when you look at the D1 football team I believe you guys are going to be getting, with the Driscoll Hospital, with the MD Anderson coming online, that's huge development. And the next question is, okay, I did most of my career in the auto industry. And in Michigan, everything was built around the car. So if you didn't have a car, you don't get around. I don't want to see that happen here. And with the Texas A&M putting a new campus in Tres Lagos with UT RGV, the ability of people to move around, no matter what their socioeconomic level is, and bring themselves up is huge. So I'd like to look at opportunities on where transit is going, and there's new hardware and software coming online from some of these large companies that I think may fit well here. We want to see what opportunities are out there, find out if they're aligned with some of the city's needs and objectives, and find out where we can bring these two together. We have a major conference coming up in the beginning of next year. We'd like to use McAllen or one of the surrounding cities as a case study on what we could do to make transit efficient for everyone, the municipality, the citizen, and the region. So again, I'll cut my spiel there, and I'm definitely looking forward to being part of this board meeting going forward.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Did you forget something?
Oh, go blue.
Thank you.
All right.
Chairman, just for the public's sake, if I may say a comment to you directly, we had entertained in the past the fact that as we grow, that at some point we need high-speed rail as well, with it from Rio Grande City to the island or San Antonio, and obviously we're the only ones that could ultimately make that happen as a board, but also from a funding standpoint. So just bring that up again.
All it takes is money.
Always.
All right, consent agenda approval for the minutes of the September 27th, 2023 regular and October 11th, 23 special meeting. Any changes?
Yes, I believe Norma Gassa was present, representing Texas on that meeting.
Yes. Yeah, we had a great meeting. You weren't here. I mean, no, you weren't here at the great meeting that we had.
You meant it that way.
But do the minutes reflect that you were there, Peter, or does it say Norma?
Reflects Dora Robles. It should be Norma Gassa.
Norma got us on that correction. All right, with that correction, you have a motion to approve?
Second.
Second by City of FAR, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, item 2, discussion and action on election of the vice chairman. Pursuant to the RGVMPO bylaws 2.03, terms of office, the chair and the vice chair shall serve two-year terms. In any given term, the chair shall be either from Cameron County or Hidalgo County, with the vice chair being from the other county, succeeding the chair when the chair's term is complete. No one can serve twice unless all board members have served at least once. This will be my last meeting as chair. Vice Chair Commissioner David Fuentes will be taking over as chair upon completion of this particular item. I understand that some calls may have been made. I did not know that this was an issue, but when we were merging the MPO, it was understood that each particular region would advocate on behalf of its promoting chairman or vice chairman, as the case might be. So with that in mind, as the sitting chairman, I would move to nominate the mayor of Brownsville, John Cowan, as the next vice chairman for the RGVMPO.
Judge, I
I'll
would just like
second
to add
that.
Sorry?
Judge, I would just like to add that Mayor Sepulveda would like to be considered also for that position.
Okay. From Harlingen?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Just wanted to note that.
All right.
So you nominate her, is that what you're doing?
Well, I've made a motion and a second.
course.
And if that fails, then we'll
Right.
certainly entertain that. Any further discussion on that motion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
All right. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next item, recognition and presentation to outgoing chairman, myself. That's it. That sounds weird to do.
It's okay. On behalf of staff, Judge, I just want to say that the last 2 years, we appreciate the insight, the guidance that we've received. I appreciate the time and the meetings that you've given to me in preparation for meetings and everything. So it's really grown in the dynamics of the MPO and helped lead to the success that we've had over the last 2 years, and we really appreciate that. So for that, we have this for you.
Thank you very much.
No, yes, sir. You bet. I appreciate working with you. So. And if you can, afterwards, we'll get some pictures.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
If-
And we look forward to working with Commissioner Fuentes. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that I'm leaving now that all Notre Dame will be sitting at the head of the table, but.
Wait, what?
Oh, Mayor Cowan
Mayor
went to
Cowens
Notre Dame.
also happens to be Notre Dame.
Can I change my vote? That's a conspiracy.
Well, it sure looks like it now, but.
Chairman, if you'll indulge me a moment, let me take this opportunity to, first of all, congratulate and thank Andrew for his years of service. Few short years ago, all points and corners of the valley got together to discuss the possibility of merging 3 MPOs into one valley-wide MPO. Some of the individuals that were involved in those discussions, which took a little bit of time, are no longer participating here, but I want to thank and acknowledge all of their efforts, and in particular, Mayor Ambrosio, who I'm glad is here today, for being one of the spearheading forces and making this a reality. It's been an eventful 5.5 years, putting it together and then serving the last 4 as both the vice and as a chairman. And I look forward to continuing to serve the entire Rio Grande Valley as a board member and advocating not just for Cameron County, but for the entire valley, as I think we're all growing and becoming much more accustomed to. At the same time, I know we all advocate on behalf of our particular region, city, or county, but we all have to realize and accept and be grateful of the fact that as the pie gets larger and larger, we all benefit, and we all do this by working together on a regional basis. The young man from Michigan indicated he's only been here a little while, but he sees the potential. And sometimes we don't see the forest for the trees. We take our own backyard for granted, and we need to be sure that we're mindful and also appreciative of all of the many treasures, resources, and making that potential actual reality for the entire Rio Grande Valley. So on a personal and professional level, I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank Andrew and the entire RGVMPO staff. I want to thank my county staff, Pete Sepulveda, Dan Sedlin, and Anthony Lopez, and all of you who I've had the pleasure of working with over the last several years. I'm looking forward to passing the gavel. And with that, I ask that God continue to bless each and every one of you, and in particular, Chairman Fuentes.
Does anybody have wipes and wash my hands?
Well, it's intimidating to follow two political giants like Dr. Ambrosio and Judge Eddie. So thank you so much, guys, for your leadership. I mean, we couldn't be here without the type of leadership that you guys have provided over these last few years, along with Andrew's guidance and support. So it's an honor to be sitting here at this table and working with all of you towards trying to improve quality of life and transportation in our area. So I look forward to it, and whatever we can do to continue to grow, I'm looking forward to working with you. And obviously, Andrew, thank you so much for all of your leadership over these last few years.
Thank you, sir.
With that being said, I think we also have another recognition. Item number 4, recognition and presentation to outgoing TAC Chairman JP Trazas.
Yes, sir, Chairman. I just want to say we appreciate everything JP did. We did not have this ready in time for our Technical Advisory Committee where JP served on his last, so we wanted to do this today in front of everybody and thank him for leading us through the technical difficulties on the materials that we bring to the policy board and everything he did for us. So with that, JP, please.
As many of you know, the actual work gets done a lot of times at the TAC, and they do a lot of the detail work that we, approve. So thank you so much, JP, for your leadership at the TAC level, and thank you for all the support that you guys have given to this policy board. And welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. I just want to thank you and the technical board and the policy board. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you, Andrew, for taking me under your wing and show me the ropes on the MPO. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to serve. Appreciate that. Also, my city manager, Mr. Randy Perez. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you for taking this MPO to the next level. Appreciate it, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There really should be a 4A somewhere in here, but Luis, I believe we have another recognition, or you going to be taking the lead on that?
4A.
Yes, we do. Mr. Andrew Cannon, as he's departing the MPO, he's been here for 19 years, as part of originally the HCMPO, worked diligently and hard, towards the merging of the MPO. And here we are, with all of that's been done this far, and of course we wish him the best, moving forward in all his future endeavors. So we've got also a recognition for Mr. Cannon.
Well, am I supposed to speak? That's a surprise, so thank you. It's just sort of bittersweet after almost 20 years to be leaving the Valley. It's seen so much growth and so many things change, and I'm just honored to have served with so many elected officials in my capacity. I still remember Ken Jones and Pollo Palacios interviewing me for this job. When we used to meet at the TxDOT offices. We didn't have any place to meet, so a lot has changed since then. And my first MEDC meeting I had, and they were like, well, we want to talk about the Ansel Lewis Bridge. I was like, great, what is that? I didn't have a clue. So a lot of dynamics, and I'm fortunate. I took the position that I took with TxDOT because it still kept me engaged with border activities and the opportunities to still come back down here and work with all of you who I find to be dynamic, instrumental individuals in the growth of the region. So I'm humbled by that, and I appreciate the support that I've gotten over the last almost 20 years. So thank you for allowing me to do this and being a part of it.
I know we've given quite a bit of recognition over the last couple of meetings over the accomplishments and leadership that you've provided to our area, not just at the Hidalgo County MPO, but also here at the RGVMPO. So we wish you the best despite, Mayor Ambrosio's beliefs that you're on to different things in Vegas, but that we wish you well over at your new job and with your being closer to the extended family.
Appreciate that, sir. Thank you, sir.
Can I say something to
Absolutely, sir.
to the next superstar of Thunder from Down Under, or whatever. Whatever you're doing in Vegas, I forgot what you said. So Andrew, you and I worked with you over almost a decade, and we started off in the Hidalgo County MPO, and it's no secret I couldn't stand him because he's such a stickler for rules, and he continues to be that way. But that attitude has really served Hidalgo County MPO and now the Rio Grande Valley MPO, or RGVMPO. It really has. And over the years, I can say without a doubt in my mind, you've been one of the most ethical person I've ever known and worked and done diligent work for the RGV, despite all the elected officials, including myself, bringing down your throat, trying to get what we want, because that's what we're elected to do, but not really understanding the bigger picture, which you always carried the flag for us. And you always made sure that we got our fair share. And I just wanted to personally thank you on behalf of the RGVMPO, but also City of FAR for always putting the valley first, always doing it, always protecting your employees, because that's what a good leader does. You empower people to do their best, and that's what you did. And I will always be grateful for your time here. I wish you the best. I know you're not going to Vegas. You'll probably go somewhere else, but despite that, I wish you the best. And you'll always have a friend here in the Rio Grande Valley, among others here, but you can always count on me to be your friend, because I'm truly grateful for your sacrifice. Thank you.
I appreciate that, man.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to say, Andrew, the size of the plaque is no indication of the admiration this board has for you and what you've done for us, so thank you.
We ran out of Cat 7 money.
Thank you.
I'm just kidding, Peter, just kidding.
That was great. Thank you, Gary.
All right. Without objection, then, we'll move on to item number 5, approval of the job description for the executive director. I believe everybody was given the handout, the job description from Manny. I believe you sent that. And Manny, do you mind explaining what you've added to this since the last evaluation?
Sure, thank you. Well, considering when Andrew got the plaque, I'm not retiring anytime soon. I'll just go out quietly. So, no, I'm just kidding. Thank you, Andrew, for what you did for the RGVMPO. I really appreciate your time here, everything you've done. So, moving on to the job description, as you know, you all met at a special meeting. Subsequent to that, I sent out an email with the job description. And as of early as yesterday, I sent an additional, or I had staff send out an additional paper, which you all approved, having to do with the goals and objectives that were outlined here this 2023 for the executive director of the MPO. So what you have before you is the job description that pretty much depicts the jobs, duties, and responsibilities of the executive director of the MPO. And so, again, unable to read everybody's mind, so we just send it out to everybody with what we thought you would be comfortable with. And it's a draft, so we're here today to add, delete any bullets that you might see fit to do so. And so it's a standard form that we use in the LRJVDC for all positions. And so I'd be happy to entertain any questions or revisions.
So in this job description, does it reference the goals and objectives that you have on this other sheet of paper?
No, sir, but that's one of the things that we could add, is referencing any and all documentation, whether it be the goals and objectives or the text of contract or even the MPO bylaws. We can surely add that statement or bullet point there, because as you know, those 3 documents, this form can be 20 pages long. I'm not sure you want to go that route. So we can just add a bullet that covers those particular items if you wish to do so.
So I believe everybody just received the handout, or it was emailed yesterday or the day before, or earlier this week. And I think this summarizes to some extent or memorializes the conversation that we had during the last evaluation about things that we would like to see the MPO continue to grow. Obviously, it was in its infancy over the last few years, and we're continuing to mature. And this is part of it, just acknowledging that there are ways that we can continue to improve on our day-to-day operations. So I think that, to some extent, maybe we reference that there's a separate goals and objectives, whether that's like in an evaluation form, that this gets translated to some degree to that.
Okay.
Open to conversation about this.
If I may, I think that obviously having a job description, putting it out, going through the whole process is appropriate. Perhaps once the new executive director is selected, then we can go as far as clear expectations and then reference these items at that point. If that's acceptable to the board, make that recommendation.
So the recommendation then is to just leave the job description as is, the way it's in the draft form here, and then after the executive director is hired, in conversations with them, develop these performance and goals and objectives individually. Okay.
I think we should put them up now, because if I was applying for a job and you change the goal line on me, I'd be upset that I got hired for X and now you're changing on me within 30 days or whatever. I want to know what I'm being hired for up front, because I may or may not apply. I mean, don't we want to have full disclosure to whatever applicant's applying, what their duties are going to be? That's,
I mean, that's.
and then the other one is, did we include in here the language that we had talked about, Chairman, where the director has to tell us when something's about to go south? When a entity cannot really fulfill what they're supposed to, instead of us knowing 6 months before it expires, remember we lost money? They're bound now to tell us, no matter whose project it is, to bring it forward and tell them there's no way in this God green earth this entity can fulfill what they need to on a project. So therefore, board, you must consider reallocating those funds. Is that language in here somewhere? Because I didn't see it.
Not to that extent, Mayor.
Because that
But
was a big problem for us at the MPO, remember?
That we sacrificed some money because of the lack of performance on some of the entities that were awarded
Yeah.
in prior, award periods. So is there any way we can incorporate that kind of language into these goals and objectives, Manny?
we can, but I would refer you to bullet number 2, which is on the first page. And again, these are general in nature, and depending on what the situation is, that is the duty of the executive director of the MPO to keep the board abreast on what projects are moving forward, delayed, or what have you. But I think bullet number 2, I think it's clear enough that it elaborates some of those responsibilities. But if you want specific to what Mayor Ambrosio commented, then we can add that if you wish.
Chairman, I think it's a little bit more specific to general, because we did lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we can't take that kind of risk again.
How about some sort of timely reporting language that's inserted in there to address the concern about not having that communication prior?
Because we need to be able to remove that money somewhere else. We have to have enough time to do that.
To redistribute it. Yeah. Could we add some language
Yes.
there with respect to that, as far as communication about allocations of monies that may not be spent in time?
Yes, sir.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
do we want to add anything about a timely annual review of performance and a timetable for getting that done in the job description? Like,
The evaluation
or you
of the
think
employee?
evaluation?
I think that's automatic, because even though the MPO is a standalone entity, we are the physical agent of the MPO, such as that 911 district. So they are, as a courtesy, we extend all the resources and timetables, deadlines to those entities. So the executive director of the MPO would have the same deadline of January 1st for you all to do that evaluation on a yearly basis.
That's in the policy? Is it in policy that the evaluation
Yes,
must be conducted?
in the bylaws as well.
But when should the board complete it? I mean, I don't want it to go in 6 months like this last one.
Yeah, by January, it should be completed, and any payment or increase is retroactive, just like every other employee, to the 1st of January. But in January, when you meet for that policy board meeting, that's when you take action on the evaluation for the MPO director.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I just think we need to integrate, I agree with the mayor and also with Pete in terms performance, the goals and objectives. The thing here is that I think we need to integrate some of these items here that are important to us. Like I think, Mayor, the one you're bringing up on the conduct and provide quarterly progress reports, like if that's important, that we need to add that to job description. That we have a job description, not a separate, goals and objective. We
Yes, sir.
state in here what's important to the board in the job description. So you can, maybe a little bit lengthier, but it's at least, I wouldn't say all of it, just what y'all feel is most appropriate, that could be on there. And,
If I may add, I was not at that particular meeting, but Commissioner, you and I discussed this in the last week, and then we talked about it at the following meeting. These are issues or notes and concerns that the board had that I think should be made part of it, and I don't see any reason to pick and choose, because, again, better for the individual to have full, and also, it's kind of that, it's also on us as a board to make sure that we're doing that evaluation on that yearly basis. So we get bogged down, and things happen, and, but that, the evaluation should be done. But I think the more in here, the better, and also the expectation that the board has of the incoming executive director and of staff. And more importantly, as the mayor alluded to, the whole reason we did this is to get more money. We're on our way there, but we still are realizing, we had that hiccup, we lost that money, and there are other projects that are getting further and further behind, and we're gonna have to realize if it's shovel-ready, it's gotta get funded. And we will get more money
Yes.
once we do that. But if we keep holding on to it because we're behind on a project, regardless of where it's located, we're just hurting ourselves individually and regionally, because then Pete, when he gets asked, well, why haven't they spent this money? And he doesn't have the answer. So we've been told we need to change our MO on that, and we're getting there. 500 million to 3.6 in 5 years, 4.5 years is great, but we know that there's more coming, and there should be more if we keep refining our process. And that next individual has to be the driving, motivating force to be able to say to each and every one of us, you're behind, you gotta fix it, or I gotta move this money over here.
And I agree with you in the sense that when we went through this evaluation, it was important enough for us to document it and memorialize it. I think goes without saying that it should be part of that job description, since that's our expectation anyway.
Okay.
So I guess you can incorporate all of these
Goals and
individual,
objectives?
yeah, into the job description as additional bullet points,
Yes.
unless there's any other conversation or difference of opinion with respect to that. Just one other thing, and just to throw it out there, under education, training, and experience, is there anything specifically that, in addition to this, that we're looking for, whether it's TxDOT experience or MPO experience at another entity? Is there anything that we should add to this?
And I did send an email with requested input from the policy board members. I think Commissioner Eli Torres was the only one that responded, just to include on the education, training, and experience, just to add preferred or desired verbiage in there. So now it reads, master's degree is preferred in transportation planning. That preferred was not there initially, so that's the only thing the change we made.
I'm good with that.
Anything else? Okay, well, with those changes and recommendations, is there anything else? Any other further discussion?
So this being an action item, would the action be to incorporate this into supplemental?
Yes, to add in all the discussions that we had so far, including memorializing or adding these bullet points and the evaluation goals and objectives into the job description. We have a motion by TxDOT,
Second.
second by City of FAR. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Manny, you'll send us the
Yes.
revised draft? Thank you. All right, so item number 6, approval of open and closing dates. So with respect to the, approval of opening and closing dates for the advertisement of the executive director position for the Rio Grande Valley MPO. Typically,
For-
we do two.
For this, I'll refer to our HR Director, Eddie Reyes. Can you please
Eddie? Do you mind-
elaborate on that, please?
Do you mind coming up to the microphone, please?
All right, good afternoon. Typically, for these types of jobs, what I like to do is replicate what we did for the executive director position. We open it up, and if we get a good amount of candidates that fill the requirements that you have, we'll close it off once we have a good, healthy amount, 15, 20 people. We don't want to keep it too open because a lot of those applicants end up leaving somewhere else. We leave it open until you have a good amount of applicants, and if you select somebody, then we're okay. If we need to reopen it to get more applicants, that's what we typically do. But that's the guidance that we do with this type of executive type of job. We don't know what kind of talent's out there. We don't know how long it's going to take. We're coming into the fourth quarter. Sometimes people don't like to, take a new position like this in the fourth quarter. But that's what we do for these type of positions.
So we can leave it open until filled? That's a possibility?
Where do you plan to advertise this job?
We're gonna advertise it in our new platform on ADP. We have 2 slots. It's on Indeed. We post on LinkedIn, and we can also add additional postings if we need to. For these types of positions, board members, typically we get a lot of applications. Not all of them are qualified, so we don't really want to flood too much. This is another idea. But I'll have to bring it up. Sometimes for these types of positions, we use executive search firms, but that's an additional cost and an option as well.
Isn't there a specific, profession or industry trade with regards to this type of position?
Yes, sir, please.
Yes, sir, Judge. My recommendation would be a consideration of posting it with AASHTO. Also, the American Planning Association, APA, and also AMPO, which is the National Association of MPOs. I think that gets to your core candidates there on a national aspect for any consideration.
Is there a Texas MPO? I mean, maybe you mentioned it, but I'm not
Yes, sir.
sure
We
what-
have Tempo as well. That makes up to 23 MPOs in the state, and David Jones is the executive director of that, and Luis is familiar with David and would be able to contact them with Eddie for, and AMPO and Tempo are free. I can't speak for the APA and AASHTO, but I do know they do job postings.
Board members, I will add that December 31st, we are obligated to close all positions that we post. So December 31st, whether, we have to leave it open or not, we'll have to close it and reopen it if we have.
Is that a LRGV or
That's
MPO policy?
That's
or
a EEOC thing.
What?
EEOC, for our EEOC reports, Equal Opportunity
Don't
Report.
use acronyms. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a report that the feds ask us to do when we receive federal monies to determine if we're hiring according to our demographics. So we have to close at the end of the year to do a report.
So with that in mind, then, we should post this pretty soon.
away.
And try to get, obviously we'll leave it, I think leave it open until filled. But I guess we'll start considering
I think
applications.
I would highly suggest we put an end date. We gotta close it at
Yeah.
some point.
Okay.
Because it just helps trying to get people to submit. Then at that point,
If you haven't found something at the end of the year, we could just repost it, but it'll automatically close. It'll be closed.
If we were to close it before the end of the year, we'd be fine, even if we don't fill it by the end of the year. And if we don't fill it and we feel the need, we, I guess, re-advertise after January 1st.
What's the soonest that we can post this?
As soon as y'all are ready.
today,
Today?
Yeah.
I'll say post it 30 days, open and close, and then see what, it just puts some pressure on some people. You're gonna apply, you need to submit,
Since we're so
we are
close to
gonna
the
name
end
an
of the,
interim, correct?
I'm sorry?
We are gonna name an interim?
We already did.
Oh, we did? Okay, all right, there you go.
Luis is right there, right in front of me. Luis is shaking. Since it's so close to the end of October, how about we just say we post it now and November 30th is kind of a clean cutoff, and that gives us December to contemplate how we move forward.
I think it'd be good.
Would everybody be all right with those opening and closing dates?
I would make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have a motion by Cameron County, second by Stark County. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 7, approval of the salary pay grade, and this goes back to the executive director position. As we post this and what we're going to post along with it as far as a current pay scale. There's, according to Manny, you want to go
Yes,
ahead
sir.
and share what we talked about earlier?
Yes, as we do with all our positions under the COG to include MPO, 911 district, so forth, we use the Texas State Auditor's Office state classification, compensation. And so if you recall back to the evaluation, or not the evaluation, but the job description, it's a class title of Director 5 with a salary group of B30. What that means is that it has a range between 106,712 to 180,475. That's the range for that particular salary group of a B30. And so it's up to the wishes of the board whether they want to set just a single salary and evaluate every year, because as you know, the executive director positions are unique where they don't take the same as the rest of the staff. They get a 2 or 3 or 5% increase, cost of living, merit increase. Executive director position, they come before this board, and you would either increase or not increase the salary based on their performance. So we can leave it at a set amount, starting amount, and that's it, or create a range of those that I mentioned, the numbers that I mentioned.
Repeat the range.
The range for a B30, Director 5 is 106,712 to 180,475, with a midpoint being 143,594.
What about car allowance, since they've got a lot of
That's-
traveling in there?
That would be up to the board to decide whether they want to add that as part of the.
Yeah, so, one thing that we've been doing here in the FAR district is that range, State Comptroller's Office, is a wide range. But in order to attract folks, we've been setting the minimum somewhere around the midpoint, so that if somebody's considering the job, they're not thinking, well, we're gonna start them off at the very bottom. Many of them think we're gonna start them off at the very top. But by having, somewhere around the midpoint allows them to have a better idea of where the true range is going to be. If you think about it, 144,000 or so, $12,000 a month, to me would be the bottom, and then up to the 180 plus whatever that number is. That would be my recommendation. That's what we've been doing in the FAR district, and we've been successful.
What's the midpoint, Manny?
The midpoint is 143,594.
So right now, the position's already in a structured grade level, correct?
Correct.
So where are we needing to approve setting because we have to get applications and figure out what their qualifications are, to be able to negotiate and figure out what we do.
I referred to
But
Eddie.
right now, it's
yeah.
already set, right? We already have a pay grade.
Pay grade, which would be a range generally.
Yes.
Board members, the current pay grade is a little higher. This is a B30, it's lower. If you want to do that strategy, which I think it's a good one, where it's a 130, 140 starting point, then we need to change the pay grade a little up. Which would be a B32, I believe, B32.
We all work for a state agency, right? And that's, we are allowed to do that at TxDOT. I'm a little surprised to hear that.
Yeah.
If that's the case, well, then just leave it the entire range, and we'll negotiate later.
Is there a higher range on that one?
Yeah, it starts at 130.
And then
It goes up to 205 or 2 something, yeah.
Yeah.
The low 106 is worst case scenario. You get a
We
bunch.
know we're not gonna get anybody to apply.
Yeah.
Not even Andrew.
You're wasting time.
Yeah, that would be a waste of time.
Yeah.
So are we just saying
No way, right?
change to the B32 to post that lowest range of 132?
Did you want to hear the numbers for B32?
Go ahead.
B32 is 129,121, midpoint 173,749. The high end is 218,376.
Is that a
Okay,
motion?
is that a motion?
I'll
All right.
second.
Okay, we have a motion, Cameron County RMA, second by City of Edinburgh, to change it to plus consideration of a car allowance, right? And that would mean,
I wouldn't want that to get bogged down as part of, it shouldn't.
I think for now, the salary,
Yeah.
we'll use that to negotiate.
do you want to say that out loud, or you want me to say it?
if I may, that would be something, Mr. Parker, I think would have to be looked into with the feds on that for, in advancement, because there's already a set rate for vehicle reimbursement.
Mileage.
Yes, sir, it's 65.5 cents. So, and all my staff utilizes that whenever we have something we drive to. Yes, sir.
Including you?
Including me.
Because it's a federal reimbursement?
Yes, sir.
So, then we'll just leave it at the salary range and leave the salary.
Yes, with
the car allowance.
we follow the GSA rates for the mileage, hotel visits, meal per diem, all of that. Yes, sir.
So then we have a motion and a second to change the classification to a B32 to reflect the changes in the range. No consideration of the car allowance since we have mileage reimbursement. Any other consideration with respect to pay or compensation? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. So we good, HR? All right, fantastic. Manny, what's the policy?
Could you say that again, please?
Vacation time.
Vacation, all benefits are under the COG. Vacation, annual leave, sick leave,
Standard.
holidays, yes.
How about relocation expenses, moving expenses and all that?
No, and that goes back to what Andrew mentioned. It would be depending on TxDOT or federal, if they allow that.
I think the only way federal highways will allow it is if they're notified about it in advance and it's a part of the negotiations for relocating someone here. Manny would just have to be sure that transportation planning, TxDOT, and federal highways would sign off on it so he could be assured that he would be reimbursed for those dollars through the federal program.
Let's see what the applications bring in and see if that's necessary, and then we can consider it and tackle it if we have to. Sound good?
Understand, thank you.
All right. I'd hate to make a commitment on something we may not be able to follow through on. Okay, anything else on item 7? Okay, item 8, selection committee for the interview process. Selection of the committee for the interview process for the executive director position for the MPO, RGVMPO. So Manny, again, I reached out to you to give us some guidance with respect to how this went about the first time.
Yeah, I was in ED at the time, but goes back to 2019, if I'm correct, Andrew. That's when you merged RGVMPO. And so at the time, Andrew stayed on board while they advertised. I'm not sure on the selection process, but I guess from my experience from ED for the LRGVDC, 27 members, out of those 27 members, the executive committee was the one that interviewed me, which is the 6 top officers. And this can be replicated here as well. And I think we have the chair, vice chair, and Pete for TxDOT can be the selection committee or interview committee, or you can open it up or select a different committee if you wish.
Ambrosio, I know that you were here the first time that all of this, any recommendations or insight into how things went and what you would have done maybe a little differently this time?
No, I think you guys are on the right track. I mean, we're modifying it as we go along as needed, so I think we're good. We're good, Chairman.
So, based on what you're saying, the executive committee then was the chair, the vice chair, and TxDOT.
Correct.
Okay. Are there any other considerations or any other recommendations that the policy board would like to consider?
There was only 3 of us back then?
That's been the norm.
Was it just 3?
When,
Yeah.
So, Manny, go, and again, I want to give everybody a sense of comfort in this, that we're not going through the whole process by ourselves. Explain maybe selecting the top 5 candidates, 3 candidates, or that whole process with respect to the interview process and how that would go about.
I'll defer to Eddie on that one. HR expert.
Trying to escape here, but in the past, when we hired Manny, what we did is we gathered the top 5 applicants. Me and Mr. Jones at the time had the pool, and we selected independently. Then we came together, and we found that we're roughly around the same. And then the 2 or 3 that we were not so sure if they ranked 3 or 4 or 5, we had a discussion, and at that point, we ranked them with a consensus that we agreed, okay, these are the top 5, and we presented them to the board to interview.
So the board interviewed the top 5?
We pre-screened them, HR and the executive director at that time, interim, Ken Jones.
So with that in mind, the executive committee then let's say, takes all the applicants and comes up with the top 5. And then bring it to the policy board to interview as a group?
That's what we did last time.
Does that sound?
I mean, you can do it any way you want. I mean, you can, the reason we had narrowed it down is because we learned from in talking to our colleagues from the other MPOs and what we experienced at Hidalgo County is that everybody runs to the door that they want to do it, and then when we're trying to have a quorum to get things done, it doesn't happen that way. So we always wind up not having to cancel stuff. And so we narrowed it down to, you know what, then let's just limit it to the top leadership. That way we get it done. And then bring it back to the full board and tell them, look, this is what we found, blah, blah, blah. And you guys still decide as a board what you want to do with that applicant or not.
Yeah, and as you know, it'll come in a form of a motion from the executive committee to the main policy board.
Yeah.
But it would still be interviewed as a whole policy board, correct?
No,
Or you're saying that they're going to decide?
the executive committee members would.
Pete, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may, I think it would be appropriate for the HR team to do the initial screening, if you will, narrow it down to 5 or 7, whatever number they feel comfortable that meet the minimum qualifications and could potentially do the job. The executive committee, in my opinion, should go through the process to conduct the interviews. It'll be very difficult, folks. Every time we try to get elected officials, they have day jobs too, and they're busy. It'd be very difficult to get several board members together at one time. I think the executive committee doing the hiring would have a responsibility then under executive session to inform the rest of the policy board to make a final determination. But my recommendation would be for the executive committee to conduct those interviews.
Okay. And to come up with a proposed finalist.
You're going to give us finalists.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Is there any budget for travel to bring these candidates in?
No,
So we're just gonna do this on, like, remotely?
we can do it over Zoom if that's an option, if you wish to do so.
If the candidates are not local, there's technology there for that to be done. I mean, some may say that it's better in person, but it can be done.
I think it's better in person. I mean, that's where you get a feel for somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's no way for this kind of position.
Mr. Chairman, I would think that once the screening committee has narrowed it down to whatever, 3, 5, 6, 7, whatever the number is, you're able to do the interview remotely and take advantage. And if those 5 or 7 still remain, we ask them to come down. I mean, it's the way of the world now. Everybody knows they gotta do that without being wined and dined.
Okay. But, so going back to the actual agenda item, which is select the committee, we have a proposal, I guess, that the executive committee be the chair, the vice chair, and TechStot.
That's what it was. You can change it when you want.
Well, yes, ma'am.
To screen and then bring the finalists to us, the board. Then we don't have to accept their finalists.
Thank you, Mayor.
You thought you were off the hook.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. Thank you. I'd be happy to do that.
So it'll be 4.
But right now, you're balanced with Hidalgo County and Cameron County. Right now, you're balanced.
We'll then have someone else from Hidalgo.
Because he's neutral. You guys are,
Right.
Get the
their
first
respective
chairman.
reasons.
Get the first chairman.
Well, you want to be the fifth?
No. I'm just saying that
No, no,
it
no.
should be
Yeah,
balanced.
why not the former?
That's what you get.
The former chair. Former chair.
Yeah, former and former.
No. Anybody else from Hidalgo County, I would
Any
open up to them.
Any
Yeah.
volunteers from Hidalgo County?
Yes,
Mayor Garza?
get involved.
Ramiro, would you be all right with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the recommendation then, and I'll wait for a motion from somebody, but the executive committee be made up of the chair, the vice chair, the former chair, Judge Trevino, and Ramiro Garza, Mayor of Edinburgh.
Motion made.
And TechStot, yes. And then we have a motion from the City of FAR.
Yep.
Second from the CCRMA, second mission. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And Chairman, for the record, it's not that I want to help, it's just that I think everybody should participate. And if I already did it, not that I want to do it, but everybody should participate, have the ability to do it.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate the the insight and the recommendations. At this time, section number 5 is executive session. We have some consideration of personnel matters pursuant to section 551.074. Subsection 1, to deliberate the employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. It is 2:20, and we will convene to executive session to discuss this matter.
Luis. Test, mic test.
Yeah,
My mic is back, I think.
we're good. Yeah, because you have a lot, so I
Yeah.
understand. Yes, sir.
We're gonna go ahead and check. Okay, it's now 2:30 and we're gonna reconvene into open session to consider action, if any, on items related to executive session as described in section 5A. Do we have a motion?
Second.
So we have a motion to proceed as discussed in
Discuss in executive session.
executive session. We have a motion by City of Edinburgh, second by City of FAR. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Thank you all very much. Item number 9, discussion and action on fiscal year 23-24 Unified Planning Work Program Amendment Number 1. Mr. Fernando Cantu?
Good afternoon, tech members. I'm here to present an item on another RFP. This one's now for Safe Streets for All. This one's a month behind because we got awarded this grant a month later after the other 3 RFPs. The date are as shown there. The next important date for this is the release, which is October 29th, which is going to be this Sunday. Then after that, we're going to have the deadline to submit the RFP for Safe Streets for All will be December 28th, and then I will bring it up at January's policy board with the selected consultants for your approval so that they can start their contract in February. As of right now, the 3 RFPs that we do have out, they're going to come to a closing this Friday, and hopefully next week we will get the subcommittee together to score them so I can bring them into December's policy to get those 3 approved so that they can start in January. And this is an informational item. It's not an action, so sorry about that.
Okay, so we don't need to take any action on it?
It's information.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Item number 10, request for proposal.
Oh, I guess I did them backwards.
Okay, gotcha.
My apologies. So number 9, this one is the amendment to our first UPWP. This one, the changes that are coming to this one is, the first one was the McAllen Metro. A couple of months ago, I had asked for amendment number 3 on the previous UPWP for McAllen Metro. They weren't able to use all their funds in the 2 months that they had. So I'm requesting to move these funds over to the next UPWP so that they can continue with their contract that they have with the grant. And they're also asking for an additional $26,000 so that they can select ATG Alliance Transportation Group to conduct the study that's coming, to implement the findings that they are doing on the study at the moment right now.
Okay.
And this is an action item.
This is an action item.
Okay, so moved.
We have a motion, City of FAR.
Second.
Second, City of Edinburgh. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. So we did 9 and 10, just for clarification.
Yes,
We just
9
did
and
them
10
in
have been,
reverse
yeah,
order.
we did them
All
back. Sorry about that.
Item number 11, discussion and action on the November 2023 statewide transportation improvement plan revision cycle. Mr. Rudy.
Thank you, Chairman, and good afternoon to all of our board members. So the November 2023 revision cycle has concluded. We went through the federally required public involvement. We brought our draft documents to the Technical Advisory Committee and previously to the board as well. So today, we are bringing this for your approval. On the highway side, we have almost $1.8 billion invested in our TIP from fiscal years 23 to 26, and that's across all 12 funding categories. In the transit TIP, we have over $173 million invested. We had quite a few adjustments to letting year cost and local contribution, which were administrative changes, and that's due to the new fiscal year rolling over. We had a total of 10 revisions on the highway side, 56 revisions on the transit side, and the earliest date for federal approval for all of these changes will be December 5th. So this is a federal requirement that we program these projects in both the highway and transit TIP, and we also updated our long-range plan, which is the MTP. I'd be happy to address any questions at this time. Otherwise, this is up for approval today.
Any questions? There being none, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Cameron County RMA, sorry.
Second, sir.
Second by City of FAR. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy. Item number 12, consideration and action to approve Resolution 2023-19, Programming Fiscal Year 23-24, Transportation Alternatives, Set Aside, TASA Funds. Eva?
Good afternoon, Policy Board members. As you recall, last month, we had this item on the agenda. We tabled the item to just get some clarification on things, but we're ready to proceed with action. And as a reminder, this is fiscal year 2023, 2024 federal funding, and we have about $9 million available. But we need a minimum of 10% has to go to planning projects. But you can see, you know, we only had 6.8 million in the last 4 years combined, so there's a significant jump. And we had a very good, thorough process. Per federal requirement, we did have to have a very transparent changes for the competitive process, and we had several meetings in order to determine the scoring criteria and the processes that we were going to use to select potential projects. And this is just a summary of all the meetings that we had, some at BPAC, some where everybody was invited via email, and we basically made sure to get everyone's public opinion and feedback on this process. You can see here the schedule of activities, the process we went through again, and so we plan to go at September 27th, but of course now we're here in October, and we're at the very tail end of the whole process that has been several months long to get here. And I wanted to include, for clarification, the scoring criteria that was used. And then this was the total results. We had the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee meet at a special meeting here in this room. And this is the summary, the average of the project scores by scoring criteria, and then their overall rank. And so moving forward, we do, at the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, I do a survey regularly. I survey them for feedback, and everybody really appreciated this year's evaluation process. And so I was really proud of that. And everybody, each one of the MPO staff members helped out, so thank you to my coworkers for that. But at the end, the recommendation by the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee that was also approved at the Technical Advisory Committee was to award the 10 projects you see here. And so 4 of them are planning projects, and the combined total is about $955,000, and that helps us meet our 10% minimum. And then you have 6 projects that are construction. And of those 6 projects, only the last one did not receive their full funding request, which is the Old Dallas Road sidewalks. And that's just because we ran out of money. But they did receive what we were able to pledge to them, and that is $1.9 million. So this is the recommendation, and I wanted to give you a brief summary. This is the planning project in Harlingen we're recommending. You can see it's to extend their Dixieland to Dixieland Park on their Arroyo, Colorado Trail. You have a comprehensive plan for the city of Mission. We have a planning project for the West Rail Trail to the Brownsville Sports Park, which would use TxDOT's Bicycle and Pedestrian Bridge. Then we have the Morrison Road to Montebella Park on Alton Glore in Brownsville also. FAR has construction fundings, and you can see in your slides before you that we did put more information for your construction project since it's more money, but this is about 1.2 miles long and helps improve access and connectivity. And then Edinburgh Gacano Street and Veterans Boulevard Trail. Arroyo, Colorado Bike Trail safety improvements would add solar lighting and I think some emergency phone posts as well, and that makes sense. Then McAllen got a huge grant or recommendation for the underground pedestrian and bicycle trail crossing at Houston and Ware. And then City of Port Isabel actually really wants to improve walkability in their downtown and all their tourist destinations for their community. And then Old Alice Road is a huge project in total, but for their total request, they wanted $3 million, and again, we're recommending 1.9 for them. And so are there any questions or discussion for the item to program, to actually approve Resolution 2023-19, which would officially program the $9 million for TASA funds? Yes, sir.
On the remaining amount, the deficit on the Old Alice project?
Yes, sir.
1.2, 1.3, I think it was?
Más o menos, sí.
Will we be eligible to get that in next year's
Yeah.
to make up that deficit?
You definitely would be eligible. I believe your project is advancing quicker than we might be ready to. So it might just happen before we open the next call for projects, likely in a year and a half. We typically do it every 2 years, but we're talking about a year and a half. And we could get started earlier. We can work with TxDOT to maybe start the competitive process earlier, but I likely think it'd still be at least a year before we could open the next call for projects.
So Eva, one of the things that we talked about earlier this meeting was to make sure that we stay on task.
Of course.
We've had some of these projects that fell off because people didn't follow through, they didn't think it was worthwhile for a small award that they're gonna spend more money doing something else. Can we just make sure that, because I know there was an over-application.
Yes, of course. We had 15 million in total requests.
Right,
Yeah.
so I know that there's people that really want to do these projects, so if somebody is not following through, please make sure to come back and revisit this, because I think that there's a lot of worthwhile quality projects in this schedule, and that I think we don't want to lose that money.
Yeah, I think you all hopefully can agree that I've definitely made an effort to do more reporting on the transportation alternative projects, and we're monitoring everything from the execution of the AFA all the way through the obligation of funds, and then even just proceeding forward. And hopefully we're going to start monitoring all the way through reimbursement of that 4-step process. So completely heard, understood. We'll continue to report and let you know as soon as possible if any funding becomes available for, I'm assuming, Old Dallas Road, since they didn't get their full ask.
Well, I had one that didn't get anything, so I'll take whatever you can find.
We'll look for more money for sure.
Any other questions for Eva? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Cameron County, second by the City of Edinburgh. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 13, Mr. Javier, discussion and presentation on SWOT analysis from the RGVMPO staff. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Policy Board members. My name is Javier Dominguez. Just a fun fact, I actually just recently moved over to the LRGVDC, but I did make a promise to you all that I would come back and present the results from the SWOT analysis, so I wanted to come back and fulfill that promise for you guys. The SWOT analysis was the strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat workshop that we did here with the Technical Advisory Committee and the Transportation Policy Board. We wish we could have had enough time to do it during the MPO 101, but maybe on another future date we can go ahead and do so. So I just wanted to show the 2 dates that we went to you guys, and like I said before, I just wanted to come back and present really quickly just some of the similarities and differences between the Technical Advisory Committee and the Policy Board. So for the first one, for strengths, we really like that the Technical Advisory Committee thought that one of the strengths of the MPO was the staff that we have, the leaders, the leadership opportunities that are given. We're given the opportunity to lead on certain initiatives, the studies. I know that with Fernanda, we have the open call program studies, so more opportunities to partner with our local planning partners across the region. And, you know, like Eva saying as well, including everyone and trying to be as inclusive as possible along the planning process and coming back and reporting it. On the policy board side, we got a lot of feedback for diversity and communication. I did underline the communication portion because it was shown as a weakness on the other portion as well. So on some ends, some people believe that it's a strength, our communication skills, and some people see it as one of our weaknesses as well. The location, unity, and overall across the board similarities, you know, we're thinking as one region, we have one MPO, we have representation across the board, and we're really trying to go for more funding opportunities. For weaknesses, just because the Technical Advisory Committee has a little bit more hands-on in depth, they talked about utilities and websites and outreach, some of the stuff that we handle a little bit more with them one-on-one. In regards to that outreach at the MPO level, they have changed, or we have changed how we do public involvement. Instead of going to city halls and libraries during regular business hours, we go on the weekends or after work, just because, you know, people have jobs and they tend to go to those locations, again, in the evenings or on the weekends, trying to go to festivals, just because we know there's going to be a little more high foot traffic areas, some of the universities, to see what some of the residents in the area would like to see. Some of the similarities between both, again, like I said, communication, not obligating funds, lack of funding, and the length of some of our meetings. Some of our biggest area of opportunities now that we're one region, funding, stakeholder engagement, like the SWOT analysis, some of the policies, and also the ability to increase staff at the MPO. The one thing I will say that at larger MPOs, staff are dedicated to just one task, and at the RGVMPO, staff wear like 5 or 6 different hats. So it means that we're well versed, but, you know, being able to increase staff would definitely help. one of our area of opportunities from the policy board level was population growth, and one thing that was really exciting for us was to see the level of enthusiasm for better public transportation and for rail, passenger rail here in the Rio Grande Valley. I know it's still a hope of mine to submit a corridor identification application to the Federal Railroad Administration as soon as it opens up, hopefully sometime in the spring semester. I'm sorry, like I'm in school, sorry, for like at the beginning of 2024. And obviously the second causeway to the island leading up to the Outer Parkway and the I-69 connector as a whole could be one of the biggest areas of opportunities for the region. And some of the threats. Project delivery, some of the process can seem kind of tedious. We would like to get a little bit more public participation, drainage and flooding, and just some of the similarities between the two is some of the priorities. But again, that comes with participation and communication with the policy board and with the TAC to make sure that we're all on the same page. And so as I went through some of these, I wanted to just highlight how we're tackling some of these things as well and how it's an ongoing process. I know I kind of sped through it, but I know this is also a long agenda. But I just wanted to come back again and just present some of the highlights that were highlighted from both the TAC and the policy board, and highlight some of the similarities between the two. At this point, I'm open for any discussion.
Thank you, Javier. Any questions for Javier? Will you present this or send it to us?
Yes.
In a separate.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Will do.
sharing that with us. It's good to
Thank
know. Item 14, presentation and discussion regarding federal fund utilization category 7. You have MPO stuff?
Yes, sir. It's just to bring the policy board up to speed as briefly as I can on a conversation we had with TXDOT-TPMP. They are looking to revise the Texas Administrative Code with concerns about funding. Transportation Planning and Programming Division had a Zoom call with all of the MPOs across the state, and I know that they've also visited with the districts with concerns that Category 7 funding was not moving as rapidly as we'd like to have. And I think that we've heard this and everybody's used to this story. There are some conversations going on about once an MPO reaches 200% of their normal allocation of having conversations with the district. I don't quite understand the move, but they would shift Category 2 funds at the district level to Category 11. Okay, thank you. I said 5 last time. I knew that was wrong. To Category 11. That would be equal to that amount of Category 7 funding above or at that 200% mark. I understand that the purpose is to motivate on the expenditure of the Category 7. I just do not understand, and I shared my thoughts on that meeting that I'm not sure what the implications are of moving Category 2 at the district level to Category 11 and how that addresses the Category 7 situation. They did have their first reading of the Texas Administrative Code at the commission. There's another one coming up, but they are working to have the Texas Administrative Code changed to do just that. You want to add anything to that, Pete?
Yes, just a couple of points of clarification. So Andrew's spot on, just for the benefit of the board and the public. Category 7 funding is federal funding, and in this policy board, typically that goes for off-system roadways. Category 2 is federal funding in the MPO area for the on-system roadways. So what is being considered at this time would be to move Category 2 funding. Once again, that's for on-system roadways, would be moved to Category 11S, S being safety. So basically, our Category 2 funding has the potential of being reallocated for safety funds. All projects are important. Safety is the #1 priority at TXDOT. Now, when you start looking at what's the motivator, the bottom line is we have Category 7 dollars that have not been spent. And, there has been over the years a lot of discussion about this. We talk about shovel-ready projects going out, funding to be focused on construction. That was an initiative about 4 years ago, approximately. From From the FAR district perspective, they're basically putting it on us, this policy board, to ensure that we utilize the Category 7 funding that's available. Historically, that's anywhere between $32 to $35 million a year. We're at 314% at the snapshot that they took a couple of months back. And so, yeah, project funding has been identified, but we have not obligated those projects. And so that is obviously a concern for us here at the local level. We got to get projects out the door. We got to get to construction as soon as possible. Some of that depends on FAR district and TxDOT as a whole. Some of that is on the local governments. As you can see on the screen up there, it's 343%, approximately, or $45 million that could potentially be moved from Category 2 to Category 11S. What does that mean for the policy board for Category 2 projects? Well, that's $45 million less. That, in most cases, will build us about 4 to 5 miles of roadway, added capacity type projects that could potentially be moved out. And so that is a concern to me, but I plead with you, policy board members, local governments, we got to get the project shovel ready. We got to go to construction ASAP, spend down this amount, because anything over the 200% is what's being considered for possible move to Category 11S.
When do you, if all of this goes according to their schedule, when do you think that might become effective?
I believe they're looking to vote on this at the beginning of the calendar year. And then obviously they have to go through the rule changes and what have you after that. Public comment is open until November the 13th, I believe, or something like that. So public meeting will be held November the 3rd. Public comment will close November 13th. It will be taken into consideration in the upcoming meetings at TxDOT.
This is an administrative change, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So the summary of what you're saying, Pete, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if this change is approved, it's going to even limit our possibilities or our ability to hit Cat 2, right, which may be moved to Cat 11S. And it goes back to our initial, your favorite saying, what is it?
Ready to lead.
Yeah, but no, you had another one.
Rack 'em and stack 'em.
Rack 'em and stack 'em. Because chances are, if this is a push by TxDOT administration, it'll probably get approved. We'll just assume that. So it's incumbent upon this MPO, as the other ones, to make sure that this change doesn't impact us in a potentially negative way. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay.
And I think, once again, we let Category 7 projects, we're not even in the discussion.
We don't have to worry about it.
We don't have to worry about it. So that's the plea to you today.
Okay. Thank you.
I would add from a staff perspective, if you draw your eyes to the last line and to the 2026 and 27, we do right now, the policy board has approved the expenditure of 301% of our allocation in 26 and 155% in 27. So there are measures in place for those funds to be expended. I don't see the conversation coming the way of the RGVMPO about moving funds anytime soon, as long as this game plan would remain in place to expend those funds.
Okay. Anything else?
Not for me, no, sir.
Any other comments or discussion?
Thank you, Eva.
Thank you. Item 15, presentation on congestion and delay study Tier 2 operations. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Chair and members of policy. Excited to be here, not only for, celebrate the transition of things, but for Andrew's last meeting also. I've been down here for doing this project with y'all for 22 years, so it's exciting to see how things have evolved and working with y'all over the years. So this is one of the few times I've been able to follow through and show the benefits of some of those improvements that we've done through the CMP. So that's kind of what this Tier 2 is focused on. The CMP goes out to evaluate your regional operations of your primarily arterials and to make recommendations. But this Tier 2 actually takes it one step forward and makes some of those implementations. So the scope of the project included first going out and looking at 164 intersections that were identified through the TAC and the committee to evaluate those intersections, look at the capabilities, look at the equipment, look at the working condition of that equipment. And from that, we then identified 100 intersections that we could do implementation and look at signal timing improvements, which are pretty immediate in terms of benefits that can be gained from doing those. So, to kind of give you a little bit of anticipation, we did those improvements over the last 6 months or so, and we saw a benefit ratio or return on investment of 40 to 1 on that investment. So, many of you may not have recognized some of those in the field because we're not tearing up any pavement and widening any roads. But I'll give you a couple highlights of what those benefits were. So in doing the assessment of those 164 intersections, this is not necessarily those that had passing grade. What this highlights, and the higher the number, is not necessarily a good thing. So the bottom line on these, we had anywhere from 40 to 97% of the intersections within these various cities. And one point to make, these cities are those that are greater than the 50,000 population, so therefore they're required to maintain their own signals, and TxDOT hands those off to the cities at that point, thinking that they're large enough to take over that responsibility. Those cities smaller than these are still maintained by TxDOT, on those state routes. So within these 6 cities, we saw an average of 73% of the intersections had equipment that wasn't functioning, which led to and contributed greatly, to the delays we saw, not necessarily congestion, but delay. The cabinets, this again just shows the age of those cabinets, because many times when that equipment is given over to the cities, they're not necessarily have brand new equipment at that time. You kind of adopt whatever they give you, and you got to be ready to take care of yourself. So there's a lot of growth pains that come with that threshold. But the good thing is, at the same time we were doing this project, the carbon reduction program came about, and there were some available funds. So MPO staff, I was able to contribute some data from the field and identify immediate improvements that can be gained through $2 million in that program. So this will be a big help to these cities to get this influx to make these immediate improvements over the next few years. So within the Tier 2, we looked at 100 intersections in Hidalgo County and over in Cameron County. Without getting into the weeds, there's a lot of information that goes into when you're doing an operational study on a corridor. It's not just volumes, but these are all those points that need to be factored in before you go out. As you may not know, that when you're driving the corridor, there's a computer basically at every intersection, and we're able to program that computer and tell it, hey, cars are coming, turn green before I get there so I don't have to stop. If some city council members have asked, is there a button I can put in my car? That's assigned to me when I get elected. Not necessarily, but we can do it. Try to do it for the regional benefit of everybody. And so those are capabilities that normal up-to-date controllers have with the properly maintenance and maintained equipment. So these are some of those things that need to be factored in to see how far we can take it with those benefits. This is one of the corridors, and I'll go through a few just to highlight real quick. This is called a time-space diagram. So this is International over at the Four Corners area in Brownsville. The 2 lines represent as you're traveling down the corridor. So time on the bottom, distance on the vertical. So if you see a horizontal line like that area, and that means time is elapsing, but you're not progressing down the corridor. So that means you're stopped at the intersection. So you would stop here in this corridor, in this area, you would actually proceed a little bit, but not far enough to get through the next intersection, which is the next horizontal line. So that means you're sitting through a couple of cycles at that signal and you're not progressing down the corridor. And then once again, you're having to stop at the next downstream intersection. So that staircase, let's say, represents the before condition of putting in the new timings. So it took us almost 10 minutes to make this couple miles, or not even probably a couple miles within this segment. The thicker line on the left is how it performed after we put in the new timing. So we never had to stop at all through that corridor. And it was a 76% reduction in travel time. And that was without widening the corridor. So we're not adding any capacity, we're not tearing anything up, which would create delays during that time. And talking with Helen, she said, even the mayor got an email from the public, that recognized that, hey, we know y'all did something. We don't know what you did, but it's recognized. So that's good to see that, it's seat of the pants basically results. Because people don't necessarily see anything happening, but they can know that something's different. I made it to work, 5-10 minutes earlier than I did yesterday. So that's always, positive to see. So the difference in that total elapsed time would be the travel time savings within this corridor. So it's pretty substantial in this segment. Another one, this is Business 77 over in the Harlingen area. 3 signals, again, it's a pretty straight line through there before and after. So it's a big 50% reduction in that elapsed time. In the FAR area on Jackson, which is obviously a very challenging area with all the interaction with the freeway, and this is even further complicated because of the construction of the interchange. So you wouldn't expect to have a straight line drive through there without stopping. It's just not possible with all the various elements that play into the timing of it. But still, there was still a 35-37% reduction in the travel time throughout that corridor. While still not compromising, the side street performance. Edinburgh on 107, which is, again, a very challenging corridor, a very long corridor, all the way from the 23rd all the way to the university. We were able to do a 41% reduction in travel time there also, throughout that corridor. And the one point to make on these also is not that it was a one-time thing, but with coordinated timing, it's something that's recurring. It's going to be a pattern, okay? So the computer can do the same thing every single day, okay? When you're doing this random performance on the before condition, you may catch one, you may catch a red light, but tomorrow you may catch it green. It's just a random occurrence. So people kind of get used to the pattern on the recurring, on coordinated timing, and that really allows people to know what to anticipate, and they can adjust their travel time accordingly. And I know how long it's going to take me because I get that same time every single day. The other condition, it may take you 10 minutes one day, it may take you 15 minutes the next day. So you just never know. So those observations, going back to the maintenance considerations, we'd hope to see those maintenance results around 10% in terms of a failure rate for a well-maintained, fine-tuned, monitored system. But we're seeing anywhere from 40 to almost 100% on those signals. And I know these numbers reflect the conditions late last year, and some cities have made a lot of improvements since then, and the CRP is going to help that even further. But at that time, the snapshot we were there, was around the 50% average rate for the 164 intersections that we looked at. So it's obvious the funding for those areas, not only traffic, but for maintenance, for staffing, for just taking care of what you got, has been underfunded for many years. And I think that needs to be given some strategic attention within the cities, and not only for MPO funding, but a lot of this is just local maintenance responsibilities within the cities themselves. This kind of highlights a few of those efforts that we've done over the last 6, 7 years, starting in 16, that have made a lot of headway. Because prior to 16, the CMP made recommendations of operations. Again, I started doing this in 2001 with you guys. And 16 was the first time that we were actually able to take a regional perspective to things and do some of those improvements, starting to follow through with some of those recommendations. This is the first time in 23 that we've actually done before and after. So that's why it really helps us highlight those benefits. And again, highlight those, the return on investment, that we average around 40%. We have some corridors get up to like 74% or 74 to 1 in terms of the amount of money invested versus the return on that investment. And that only factors in the travel time savings and the volume of the people that are encountering that delay or those improvements. When you factor in safety, less accidents because you're not having to stop and go as much, emissions, fuel expenses, your benefit costs go even higher than that. So that's just pure travel time savings that we're able to measure, seat of the pants, literally. So if there's any other questions on this, I'd love to answer. Yes, sir.
Steve, battery backup, I'm noticing signals, when a thunderstorm or something, they go out. So are they supposed to have battery backup?
It's a good question. I'd probably say because of the age of some of the equipment, it's probably more difficult than as an add-on versus when it's time to replace the equipment you have, which is obviously now. As you replace that, and because new equipment uses less power, and it takes less power to continue an operation of a signal with LEDs and all that kind of thing, that it's probably more reasonable for that additional cost to have that as a part of your spec going forward versus to go out there and put it on an older piece of equipment that may not function even with that investment. So it's sure something to factor in as to what that cost would be to add that to your specs going forward for new equipment.
Any other questions? I know this was part of the requirement as far as reporting, so thank you for coming here and sharing the conclusions with us.
Thank you.
Item 16, apologize for the length of the meeting, but we'll try to finish this off pretty quick. Discussion on the federal function classification. Andrew?
Yes.
Luis?
Yes, sir. Recently, we've gotten an update from the FHWA, processes for reviewing of FC, and that being one that for submittals going forth in the future, that we start taking a look at the surrounding FC for consideration of approval. That means that there is a guideline set by federal highways based on the distance between federally functionally classified roadways. And we have a meeting actually set up tomorrow to spend most of the day at the FAR district to discuss with TPMP, TxDOT Austin, and federal highways to see what this really entails for us moving forward in the future for requesting FC. So we just want to make sure that we gather all the information we need when moving forward with our request for FC. Another thing also that I wanted to bring up is that recently determinations from federal highways have come in as a proposed FC for new constructions. That meaning that it's a proposed functional classification determination, meaning that it may possibly be taken away, is what we've been told, is that if there isn't any progress made to the project on an annual basis, as reported by TxDOT FAR District, that it's possible that FC determinations may be removed. And we have a handful of projects that have been indeed assigned as proposed FC. We're going to go ahead and be meeting after our meeting tomorrow to give a little bit more guidance on what that truly means to those local governments that have those projects that have been assigned proposed FC. So this is just something that we're just wanting to move forward, and we'll know a lot more after our meeting tomorrow when we indeed meet with FHWA and TPMP and TxDOT FAR District.
Mr. Chairman, do you have a list of those potential, that way we're all aware?
Yes, I can mention them.
Or
Okay,
you can
so.
just get it to us.
Okay, yeah, I could share that. That's what we plan to do as the next step,
Okay.
to meet with each local government to make sure that we address everything and make sure that we don't miss anything moving forward and do not lose that FC. That's the most important thing. And another key thing to mention out of this is that if this is indeed the fact, this may change moving forward for requesting FC. Because if a local government plans on requesting FC, meaning that they move their construction phase all the way up to the tip, first 4 years of our plan, and plan to acquire FC and move it on out to the latter years, that may not work because that they may indeed lose their FC determination. So that's another thing to keep in mind moving forward. But of course, we will be providing further guidance, and once we hear that is indeed the fact. But that's what we have at this point moving forward and taking that tomorrow to our meeting, which is mostly the whole day at the FAR district. So that's what I've got as far as FC as an update. Thank you. If there are any questions.
Any other questions? Okay. We'll move on to Section 6, RGVMPO Executive Director's Report and Updates. Andrew?
Yes, sir. Very briefly, our year-end budget has not closed out yet. We're still waiting on the final billings from the LRGVDC Finance Division. But I can tell you that we should have expended 95.8% of our budget, and as of right now, we're at 81. We will be closer to the 95 and still maintaining under budget as usual and above that 25% threshold that we have. So I know that Fernando will come back to the board once he has the closeout on the books.
Any questions on the budget?
I could mention that one. We're recently, we had a meeting in coordination with Valley Metro and bringing it forth to LRGVDC for opening our program call for 5310. And that would be opening on November 1st, which are all your transit-related projects based on, ADA compliance and all of those things. So that's going to be a project call that's going to be opening up here in the near future. We'll be sending out more information on the timeline and all of that to the committees. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Section 7, Status Reports, TxDOT Project Status Report.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Arlene Garcia, and I'm a part of the FAR area office. I will be covering the construction. I'll be covering the construction project updates for two of our Hidalgo County projects. The first is FM 676 from SH 364 to SH 107. It's going to be a full reconstruction and widening of the existing roadway. The contractor is Texas Cordia Construction. We're currently at a 7% completion, and we estimate the project to be completed in February 2025. This first picture shows the crew working on the cement-treated subgrade. Once this area is completed, we'll go ahead and we'll move traffic to this new widened portion and construct the adjacent part of the roadway. This shows the completed cast-in-place 5x8 rectangular box, and this is the north portion. We're currently working on constructing the southern portion of the box. The next project is FM 1425 from Business 83 to I-2. The contractor is Sasago Construction. We're currently at 2% completion, and we estimate to be completed by December 2025. This just shows the lime-treated subgrade, basically the construction of the roadway. After this, we will be working on the flex space. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Richard Varela, and I'll be providing a project update for the Texas Amanita Area Office. The project is for the I-69 ramp reversal located in Harlingen, Texas. The limits of the project are from Industrial Boulevard to Loop 499. And the scope of the project is the northbound and southbound ramp reversal. The contractor for the project is Foremost Paving, which right now is currently at a 7% complete, and we estimate the project to be completed by March of 2024. Here in the image, we can see the contractor setting concrete barriers on the frontage road, on the northbound frontage road. That way they can start working, they're working on the northbound ramps. On the image here, we see the contractor expanding pipes on the driveways. This to allow for a better turning radius to facilitate access into the frontage roads.
Good afternoon, policy board members. I am Mariel Torres. I am with the FAR District Bridge section. I will be presenting on our current federal funded bridge projects. So we currently have 9 projects within the lower, the Rio Grande Valley. I know the PowerPoint says 7 out of the 9 have AFAs executed. We did get the final 2 executed this Monday. All the projects will be state-led, and as you can see, we will try to have as minimal right-of-way acquisition as possible. I'll quickly go through each of the individual projects. First off, we have Mile 1 West Road. It is located in Hidalgo County Precinct 1. The AFA has been executed for this one. Second is Mile 17 and a half, also Hidalgo County Precinct 1. We got Loma Blanca Road in Stark County Precinct 2. And, sorry, I'll go back. There's 2 bridges in Loma Blanca, all right along the same corridor there. We have Minnesota Avenue with City of Brownsville. We did get that AFA amended, executed this Monday as well. We are in the process of negotiating with a consultant. We did have actually a consultant assigned in the beginning of negotiations with that consultant. They estimated that they would not be able to conduct the design in the allotted time that we had for them. So we are in the process of reassigning a consultant to get that done within the allotted time that we have. So this is Brown Avenue with Cameron County Precinct 1. We have Stenger Road with the City of San Benito. We are coordinating with the city to let the bridge project in coordination with a local sidewalk project that is ongoing. We have Tower Road in Hidalgo County Precinct 2. And we have Valley View Road in Hidalgo County Precinct 2 as well. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a quick question.
Yes,
Who was
sir.
the consultant on that one that you mentioned that started but was unable, or?
I don't recall the consultant. Was the consultant started with an M?
Chairman, Commissioners, it's a unique situation at this instant. A lot of the consultants are fully stacked, and personally, and been doing this for a while, and never really heard a consultant turn away work. And the lucky consultant that won that ticket was Majeski and Masters. They're out of the East Coast. They just said they couldn't meet the schedule. We need to meet the schedule because we had to commit to a certain letting year to meet the requirements for the infrastructure Investment Infrastructure Act that was recently passed by the feds. So the local participation went from, the 3 to 5% to 0. And we will design and build and then hand over the projects to the local government.
So then that firm,
Majeski and Masters.
They're the ones who were unable to, but they've already been replaced?
We're working on that as well, yeah. To get it done.
Have they done work down here before for TxDOT or anyone?
No. They're movable bridge experts, and we have the one in Rio Hondo. And so they've participated in some of that work as well as there. They actually wrote the manual, the AASHTO manual for that. So, I mean, they were trying to establish themselves down here, but they just said they couldn't do it. So.
Oh, they did do it. They did establish themselves, but maybe not in the way they wanted to.
Well, I can't say that, but.
I can.
Okay, yes.
Can you please state your name for the record, please?
Agustin Ramirez with TxDOT FAR District.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
I will just add that these 9 bridge replacement projects are win-win for just the general area. 100% federal funds, 0 cost to the local entity, 0 cost to TxDOT. We just encourage utility relocations and right-of-way acquisitions. Again, you build a bridge, it should be maintenance-free, for a very, very long time. Thank you.
Thank you to TxDOT for that. Any other comments or questions?
For the direct connectors, winter of '23, substantial completion a year after, frontage roads, and et cetera.
You mean today it's 75 outside?
Okay. Section 8, other business, old or new? Andrew?
No, sir, I don't have anything. Oh, yes, sir, I do. I apologize. I guess I would ask Rex. We were just informed by the district of the necessity of a special meeting for the board to approve Category 2 projects for the next UTP development. Is that correct? We didn't receive this until right at the end of the day on Friday when the packet had already gone out, so we had no opportunity to add that. So I leave that to the discretion of Luis and the board to talk with TxDOT on how to resolve that.
We have a deadline, Dora, I believe, of the 1st of December to submit the candidate list projects. So I think we have to do our part before we present to the board. I think we can work a date to see if we can meet something in advance. Is that a fair statement, Luis?
Yes, that sounds good. We were considering December 15th since it is mid-month, but like you mentioned, we'll just go ahead and coordinate further to see if that works on your end as well.
I believe the next agenda item says that we have a meeting scheduled for December 13th.
Yes, that's for the. Oh, actually, I misspoke. I meant November 15th. Sorry about that. Good catch. Yes, I meant November 15th. Yes, sorry about that.
And I think your deadline December 1st is.
Yes, yeah, that would totally, misspoke. Sorry about that.
I know it's been a long meeting, but.
Yes, meant November. Sorry about that. Yes, and that would be a virtual meeting, so we wouldn't require everybody to come in for that one item. It would be virtual. Yes, thank you.
So you'll keep us posted on that.
Most definitely. Yes.
Okay, with that, item 9, next meeting scheduled for December 13th at 1:30 p.m. here at the Ken Jones Room. Any other comments, questions?
I just want to wish the new chairman and the vice chairman a very successful tenure. You can count on all of our help and support. And Andrew, on a personal, professional basis, I wish you all the best, and may God continue to bless you.
Thank you, guys. It is 3:23, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for your patience.